Okay, this is really interesting to me, and I'm glad so many other people have noticed that this is a profound, profound weakness of the Trump regime. They didn't value soft power, and now they've gutted their soft power entirely. There's no throwing the curtain back up and calling it a wizard. It was a couple of weeks ago, I think, that Jamel Bouie said something about how the regime perceives soft power that made me just go like, oh, that makes so much sense. He was describing the way the regime has totally rejected the notion of soft power, which is really obvious to all of us. Soft power is about attracting, almost seducing people to come to your side and to do your bidding. You get their acquiescence, you gain their support, not through coercion, but through seduction. And I couldn't really understand why the regime has completely abandoned the strategy of using soft power. And then I saw Jamel's video and I was like, oh, I was trying to make their reasoning far more sophisticated than it is. Jamel said that he heard from people in the government that Stephen Miller and Donald Trump don't want to use soft power because they view soft power as soft and feminine and gay. It's not masculine and hetero enough for them. They want straight up, like super aggro, like high testosterone, in your face, coercion, force, subjugation through threats and violence. And when Jamel said that, I was like, oh my God, oh, we have the cringiest authoritarians. But yeah, that tracks. That makes sense. They only want to use hard power because they equate hard power with hypermasculinity, and they equate soft power with being like, I don't know, gay or feminine. And therefore it must be weakness and not true power. It's just such a huge blind spot for them, a huge, huge weakness. They're not utilizing the majority of the power that legitimate governments and autocratic regimes use to control people and to cement their power over a society. And the result of that profoundly toxic and fragile masculinity in the regime is that they have undermined their own power in incredibly significant ways because they've just had to go full coercion, full overt force, and that creates a tremendous backlash. If you want to look for evidence of the way that the regime views soft power as effeminate and weak, and thus they have rejected it as a strategy, even when like Mao, Hitler, Stalin, all very successfully implemented soft power, right? I don't want to say competent dictators, but okay, fine. Competent dictators understand that to a degree you catch more flies with honey than with vinegar. Enticing people, seducing them is far more effective and expends fewer resources than violent coercion, and it does not create the same kind of backlash effect. Soft power doesn't piss people off. You're kind of buying their loyalty. You're buying their allegiance. Whereas sending a violent paramilitary into the streets to murder Americans is going to create a backlash. It's going to turn more people against the regime. Overt repression that dictators use, dictators who know what they're doing, is used in a way that is measured and is coupled with soft power as well. But since the regime here has rejected soft power, you can really see how that's playing out for them in the way they've rebranded the Department of Defense as the Department of War, the way that they've dismantled USAID. One of the biggest ways that the US wielded soft power to buy loyalty around the world. And instead, Donald Trump is just going to like threaten to invade our friends in Mexico, Canada, and Greenland. And he's just going to like slap a bunch of tariffs. They really think might makes right. And on their own, they have hobbled their ability to cement control and leaned in to strategies that invoke a backlash and very, very quickly motivate people to rise up in resistance against the regime. Jamel is absolutely right. These guys are cargo cult fascists. The homophobia, the toxic masculinity, the severe fragility of the regime. God, how fucking pathetic are they? How pathetic are they? It has caused them to hobble themselves all on their own, right? Unforced error, giant unforced error from the regime. And that is a weakness that we in the resistance movement need to understand and need to be able to exploit.